Of The Mandalorian and Grogu hits on May 22nd, 2026, and Toy Story 5 is on June 19th, 2026. Get ready for Bad Boys Ride or Die dropping today by catching up on the Bad Boys collection, now on sale for a limited time via Sony. Beau Willimon is set to co-write James Mangold's Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi. A docu-series featuring Ayanna Pressley is in the works called She Dared to Dream, centering around the 7th Congressional District, Massachusetts representative. Roadside acquires summer camp comedy starring Diane Keaton, Kathy Bates, and Alfre Woodard. Sandra Oh joins Aziz Ansari's Lionsgate comedy Good Fortune. And IATSE Local 871 reaches a tentative agreement with studios before another caucus next week. Owen Wilson's golf comedy series for Apple cast Peter Dagger as a co-lead, and the Game of Thrones spinoff A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms cast Peter Claffey and Dexter Sol Ansel in lead roles. Blumhouse's The Woman in the Yard adds Okwu Okpakwasili. True Artists, launched by former KMR agents Alicia Ruskin and Jamie Hernandez, following the rapid unraveling of the agency over the last few weeks. The Legally Blonde spin-off series is in the works at Amazon from Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine, Josh Schwartz, and Stephanie Savage. Halle Bailey joins Kelvin Harrison Jr. in Universal's musical from Michael Gondry and Pharrell Williams. Hulu nabs Mindy Kaling's ensemble comedy Merle Hill with a major commitment, and Sarah Chalk, Alan Tudyk, Stephen Root, and Isla Fisher are among the cast to join the action comedy Playdate with Kevin James and Alan Richardson. Octavia Spencer joins Rose Byrne, Ariana DeBose, Dominic Sessa, and Demi Lovato in tow. Director Yeon Sang-ho is adapting Parasite: The Grey for Netflix as a longtime manga fan. Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum original film gets a title, Fly Me to the Moon, reportedly set against the 1960 space race on July 12th. Julia Garner joins Marvel's Fantastic Four as Silver Surfer. Chris Pratt's sci-fi pick Mercy as Rafi Gavron, Chris Sullivan, Kenneth Choi, and Kylie Rogers. Leah Seydoux is set to star opposite Josh O'Connor in Luca Guadagnino's Separate Rooms. Jennifer Garner is set to star in the Netflix holiday comedy Mrs. Claus from Hello Sunshine. Craig Gillespie is in talks to direct Supergirl for DC Studios. And Oscar Micheaux and the Birth of Black Independent Cinema has a 15-day film festival opening on May 3rd at Film Forum in New York City. Delroy Lindo joins Ryan Coogler's untitled Warner Brothers project. The Five Blood star will star in an undisclosed role alongside Michael B. Jordan. The new Matrix movie is in the works at Warner Brothers from Drew Goddard. Aramis Knight and Wyatt Olaf join Sony's Karate Kid. The iconic band Air Supply is to get a biopic treatment with All Outta Love, the Air Supply story. The film will be released in summer 2025, celebrating the band's 50th anniversary. Our Town Broadway includes Jim Parsons, Katie Holmes, Richard Thomas, Ephraim Sykes, Zoe Deutsch, and 23 more stars. Cult comic book The Yellow M is set for live-action adaptation with Belga Films, and Grey's Anatomy renewed for season 21 by ABC. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Point Grey Pictures, Monarch Media, and more explore Alzheimer's impact with animated Pictangles. HBO orders the Chair Company comedy pilot from Tim Robinson and Zach Cannon. Adam McKay is producing. Stevie Van Zandt tunes up music format The Jam with Aploft Entertainment. Range Media Partner signs Keegan Michael Key, L. Key, and their Bigger Picture Media banner. Netflix is in talks for Anna O series adaptation from Berlanti Productions with author Matthew Blake. The Kevin Smith comedy The 4:30 Movie has been acquired by Saban Films. Amy Carrero joins John Hamm in Apple TV's Your Friends and Neighbors, and Suits duo Patrick J. Adams and Sarah Rafferty are to launch a rewatch podcast with Sirius FM. Jake Gyllenhaal's Nine Story inks a first look film pact with Amazon MGM Studios following the Roadhouse smash success. And the American Federation of Musicians ratifies a new deal with the studios. Congratulations. Tom Segura is in talks to play Andy Kaufman's collaborator Bam Zamuda, comedic persona Tony Clifton in the Indie City Dirty Rotten Bastard. Into the Badlands star Daniel Wu joins Kiwi Kwan in With Love from 87 North and Universal. Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman team with Jay Roach on The War of Roses reimagining for Searchlight. True Detective star Kaylee Race joins Amazon MGM Studio and Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson for the sci-fi thriller Mercy. Universal TV is developing a new Liza Palmer book, Family Reservations. Eileen Chaikin to write and executive produce. Catherine Hunter, Mary McCormick, Rachel Blanchard, and more join Dakota Fanning in the Paramount horror pick Vicious. Jordan Alexa Davis and PJ Byrne round out the cast of David Robert Mitchell's Flowervale Street. Jack Champion, Sophia Lillis, Kate Dale Castillo, Tony Dalton, Whitney Peak, and Bobby Cannavale join Dave Bautista in the action pick Trap House. Today on The Curvy Critic, we're getting into interviews from stars of Asphalt City, reviews of Becoming King, MonkeyMan, and Housekeeping for Beginners. And I'm going to give y'all a quick little preview of CinemaCon 2024. All that and more coming up on The Curvy Film Critic with Carla Renata right now.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, a.k.a. The Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. I'm so happy to be here with y'all today. It's been a whirlwind because I'm getting ready to go to CinemaCon, so there's that. But welcome to the podcast. Yay. It is Sunday, April 7th. And like I said in the intro, I've got some goodies for you. We're going to talk about CinemaCon, which is where I'm going. We're going to talk about housekeeping for beginners. I have some interviews with the cast of Asphalt City, including Ty Sheridan, Kaylee Race, and their director. And then I usually get into what I did the week before and what I'm going to do. But what I'm going to tell you is today is Celebrate Bad Boys Day. So like I said at the beginning of Around the Curve, if you go to sonypictures.com right now, you can get all 3 versions of Bad Boys now and get ready for the 4th iteration, Bad Boys. I think it's like Do or Die or something like that. That's going to drop in June. So last week, your girl did some voiceover work. I was so happy to get a job, y'all. I didn't know what to do. Ooh, Lord, I was so happy. I can't tell you what it is, but it's a big one. And then I did this for AFCA, the African American Film Critics Association, in tandem with CAA, did a special screening of the documentary Becoming King, which is directed by Jessica Oyelowo, David Oyelowo's wife. It is her directorial debut. That is the 3 of us at CAA while I was moderating that conversation. This is us afterwards. Oops. This is us afterwards where David was like, let's take a selfie. And then this is me, David, Jessica, and Cynthia Erivo, who came to support David in that endeavor. And that is pretty much what I did last week. So let's get back into one of the films I'm going to review, which is Becoming King. So Becoming King, let me find my way back to y'all. Let me find my way back to y'all. Ooh, ooh. All right. So it's streaming on Paramount Plus right now. And it's been streaming there since Black History Month, since like mid-February. But people are not seeming to pick up on this documentary, and I'm not quite sure why, but I'm here to tell you about it. So it's streaming on Paramount Plus. I told you that Jessica directed it. And it is a cinematic journey of David's transformation into Dr. Martin Luther King, where he played that role in the film Selma. Now, it's not to go unnoticed that in 2015, when Selma came out, it was not, David's performance was not acknowledged with an Academy Award nomination, and he was fantabulous. Ava DuVernay's work as a director was not acknowledged, and she was fantabulous. It only got nominated for Best Picture and Best Original Song, and it did win an Oscar for Best Original Song, Glory, which was written by John Legend and Common, right? Just had to, remind y'all about what was going on at that time. But we all, in addition to seeing his journey into transforming into Dr. King, we also see him on a journey of love and loss as he loses his mother and his father during the process of shooting this documentary. It took him 7 years and a plethora of different directors, including Lee Daniels, before they even got to Ava DuVernay. And the way they got there is really something to see, and you'll see it when you see the documentary. David's last name in Nigerian literally means a king who deserves respect. It's not lost on me that he played a king. His first big role with the Royal Shakespeare Company was playing a king. His last name means king, and he ended up playing Dr. King. He fought for 7 years to play Dr. King in Selma. So all of that is explained within the film as well. But there's nothing more heartwarming than seeing him go from this little teeny tiny village that he grew up in, Lagos, Nigeria, to being an Oscar, finally being an Oscar nominee for a short film that he did this year called The After, which was chef's kiss. It was really spectacular. So this journey, when I did the Q&A with them the other night, Jessica and both David spoke about how their faith has been very strong in their journey with Selma, with the journey in Hollywood, and the journey with them being married. Their faith is very, very strong. And Jessica spoke very strongly about how the Lord spoke to her and told her that she needed to make this a film. Girlfriend had never picked up a camera. She's never directed anything in her life. She did a really good job. I mean, for a first time director, she did a really, really good job. And it was great to see it. But if you guys have not seen Becoming King, please check it out. It is streaming right now on Paramount Plus. Now, this film that I saw called Housekeeping for Beginners, it was a trip because it's directed by Goris Stolevsky. It's based on a Facebook post from a friend of his and is produced by Focus Features. And it explores the universal truths of family, encompassing both the bonds we inherit and those we create, i.e., the family that we're born into and chosen family. The narrative revolves around Dita, who's in the center of that picture there, who, despite never aspiring to become a mother, she finds herself compelled to raise her girlfriend's two daughters, Mia, a tiny little troublemaker, and Vanessa, a rebellious young teenager. As their individual wills clash, this heartwarming story unfolds about an unlikely family struggle to stay together. When I tell you, this film has a lot going on. We're dealing with an LGBTQ plus theme from a female perspective and a male perspective. We're dealing with the theme of, when a parent knows that they are no longer going to be here, the lengths that they go to make sure or ensure that their children will be taken care of. And we're dealing with somebody who never aspired to be a mom and now all of a sudden has been thrust into being a mom at no choice of her own, and how that changes her life and their lives forever. Y'all, this film is excellent. If you can get to a theater to see it, it's called Housekeeping for Beginners, and there is no pun intended. When you are trying to keep a house and keep everybody in it happy. Needless to say, the other thing that's happening is that her house is like a not a halfway house, but it's like a haven or a safe place for a lot of gay people to go to, because in this particular country, being gay is frowned upon. There's a whole scene where they have a dinner scene where she goes there with her best friend Tony, who also stays in the house and has a lover named Ali who also stays in the house. How they're at this dinner and they're trying to act like they're straight and everything's okay, and the whole thing just blows up in their face. But the film is excellent. It's called Housekeeping for Beginners. And again, it's in theaters right now. Of course, I'm going to check the chat to see who's up in here. I know Brandon will pop through later. And she said, oops, I thought you was going to give housekeeping tips. No, sis. I wasn't giving housekeeping tips, but thank you for popping in. No, I know the film's title is very the film's title is very misleading because you think it's going to be this, crazy kind of mid temperature film, and it literally has you all up in your feelings. If you want to go see the written review of what I wrote about it, because I do have the review up, you can go to that. I'll just leave that up while we're online so that you can go there and see it. I also saw this film called Asphalt City, which I kind of liken it to, it's like if Training Day met what's that film? It's like if Training Day met that film by Martin Scorsese called Bringing Out the Dead. It's like Training Day for people that work in ambulances. That's what it's like. Mike Tyson is in this movie, y'all, and he's acting, and he's not too shabby. And Ty Sheridan is in it, who's on the screen to your right, and Sean Penn is in it on the screen to your left. And also in this film is Kaylee Reyes from True Detective. She's starring in True Detective with Jodie Foster right now. But I'll let them tell you, along with their director, a little bit more about this film in this interview that I did with Ty and Kaylee and the director for Asphalt City. Hello, Kaylee.
Oh,
Hey, John, how you doing?
Hello, how are you doing?
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Kaylee, the last time I talked to you, it was for the Bentonville Film Festival, and you had just finished doing Catch the Fair one. I did a whole thing with you guys. It's been a minute. So congratulations on everything that has happened to you since that time. You deserve all of it.
Thank you so much. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been a wild, crazy, blessed ride. So thank you.
Listen, I am there for all of it. I wanted to know from you in particular, coming from that boxing background, did that prepare you for the scene I don't want to say what it is, the scene that you have involving the birth because of the breathing and the intensity that's involved with that scene? Has your background as a boxer, did it help you with that scene at all or not really?
Well, boxing has definitely prepared me for just acting in in a whole, especially with the genre of film that I've been kind of just in this pattern of doing. Very visceral experience, the breathing, the repetition, the endurance, and also with this particular character in this particular scene, the internal, not reactive outside type of visceral experience you have to understand at a moment's notice as an audience member. So it definitely did help me with that, definitely with the breathing, definitely with the trying to figure things out at a moment's notice and putting pieces together. It absolutely definitely did help me.
I know that this film is based on Shannon Files' book, Black Files. So Jean and Kaylee, I want to ask you this question. There's a quote where someone in the film says, you do the job because you want to help people, and sometimes you do end up doing the exact opposite. What does that mean for you now, coming out on the other side of this film? And I'll start this time with Jean.
That's the question of the movie, how these people, they start this job, to save life, and sometimes it's more difficult than you think because they're facing stuff that sometimes it's really tough, and it's intense, because every day you have, and I did, ride along to trying to understand the job of a paramedic. I did this for 2 years and I was in the back of the ambulance. And when you have to face every day all these calls, these people calling 911, they call because they have a problem and they are vulnerable and they don't want to go to the hospital because it's very expensive. And so when you have to face this, at one point you kind of also get affected by this, and it's for your mental health, it's really difficult. So the film is really about this guy, he started his job because he wants to save life in a naive way. And then he understands that's not that easy because that he also have to care about his life and his mental health to be able to save lives, So I think that's really the topic of the movie.
Cool, cool. I've been that person in the back of an ambulance that where I didn't want to go to a certain hospital. I got hit by a car one time when I was in college, and they wanted to take me to one hospital, and I was present of mind enough to know that if they took me there, the bills were going to be high. And as a college student, I couldn't afford it, so I was like, "No, you got to take me to this hospital." And I fought them in that ambulance. And they finally, when I acted out enough, they took me where I wanted to go. And I ended up with like just a little bitty bill. But if they take me to that other place, it would have been a hot mess. I want to talk to you, Jean, also about shooting those ambulance scenes, because it's such a tight space for a camera person and a director and the lights and the this and the that. How did you navigate all of that?
Yeah, I wanted to stay, in this kind of small room, and so it was mostly kind of only the DP, was there with the actors. The first opening scene, you also have one guy, is a cop because it's a shooting scene, and you always have a police guy, in the ambulance. But this guy is also a real paramedic. He's the one who helped us, Lenel, to know exactly. He was a consultant of the movie, and we work with him. So I say, okay, you need to be there like this. You can look what Sean and Ty are doing and make sure, it's realistic, because I could see, from the monitor and stuff, but not being inside the ambulance. So he was my eyes, inside, and because I really wanted for this movie to be realistic and just everything they're doing, Ty and Sean, to be realistic. And I know for sure it was also something really important to be the seasoned paramedic. So not to look like an actor doing fake stuff, but being a real paramedic. And we shot long shot like this, from the beginning until the end, to keep this intensity and to be realistic. So we have to go from outside the ambulance, inside the ambulance, and outside again, and always keeping this movement to keep the energy and the sense of emergency that we can feel, when you are in this kind of course.
Yeah, it was intense. It was giving me like Bringing Out the Dead meets Training Day. Like all of that was kind of like mixed up in it. I was like, oh, Lord, I was not prepared for that ride, but I'm happy that I took the ride. But I was like, oh, not sure what's happening here. Um, Haley, you are this mom that is mentally struggling with a lot of things. As an actress in this business, and particularly being an Indigenous actress, where as of late, y'all are getting a lot of love, but that hasn't always been the case. Mentally, how do you keep yourself strong and fit to deal with all the things that are thrown at you at any given moment?
Being in, I have the blessing of coming from an Indigenous background, a Cape Verdean Wampanoag background, and it's always come back to grounding yourself in your truth and where you come from and who you are. And I have a lot of support, even though may not be physically home. I have a lot of support in my culture, my practices, wise words. You keep a real close corner to you, and life is always happening, life is always lifing. But what's helped me really stay true is to, we have a goal as an Indigenous people to tell our stories, to have people see us for who we are, not who they think we are, what they thought we were, and because we're still here. And we have that walking in one shoe, walking in another moccasin. We have to balance between two worlds. That's who we are as people. It's not between the corporate and their everyday life. Yeah, that is, but at the very core of being an Indigenous person today, to know what the culture is and be able to practice our culture legally now is exactly that balance. So it's just the grounding and the balance. You have to continue that balance. Whatever your grounding is, whatever really makes you feel at peace and at home. It could be, for me, it's working out. For me, it's, speaking to people back home, or doing my culture or my ceremonies here at home. It doesn't have to be anything big, but just to bring me back to that home, that's what keeps me, my feet on the ground.
I love that analogy that you use with one foot in one shoe and the other in a moccasin. I'm stealing that. That was a fabulous analogy because it says so much saying so little. Thank you for that. And last but not least, there's a couple of scenes where they talk about how a fly can smell death quicker than we can as humans. Is there any, and I promise I have a point going there. Y'all are like, what is she doing? Is there any kind of smell that either one of you smell that automatically takes you to a mournful place?
No one know exactly the smell of the flesh burnt, when someone get burned, and you smell of the flesh. And they said that's something we can experience, a lot of times in the ambulance that no one get an idea, and I think that's why it's sometimes tough because we are not really disturbed by smells and stuff or bad smells, but not in the human being, smell kind of stuff, so, ugh, and the flies, yeah.
I know, right?
Flies, and that was the title of the book, Black Flies. So it's metaphorically, these guys, dealing with death, people and death and smell of death, but also with life, hopefully, and a lot of life too.
Yeah, I asked that question because you know how music takes us to a certain place, so do smells. Go ahead, Kaylee. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, and this sounds probably not something that people would say, but the smell of flowers is very morning to me. Like the overwhelming smell of flowers just reminds me of death because at a funeral or a wake I just remember, especially as a kid, going to like different funerals for family members of smelling of flowers. Like it's a beautiful thing. It is life and it is death in the same. So I love looking at flowers. I love seeing flowers, but the smell of flowers, it just brings me to a kind of a mourning place because I associate the smell of flowers with death.
Kaylee, you a deep doll. Between the moccasin analogy and the flower analogy, like I can't with you. You are just so deep. I cannot handle you right now.
It's a Virgo brain. It's a Virgo brain, man.
That's why we love Kelly, a deep doll and a fighter.
Yes.
She is a fighter. I love her.
Thank you. Nice talking to you again.
Nice talking to you too. Bye.
Bye.
I thought I had Ty in this one. I'll put Ty's interview up online, but if you want to see the reviews of all the films, look at that ticker that's going across the and you can see the reviews there. Let me just pay attention to what Brandon said. He missed the intro. He's like, hey, it's CinemaCon week. Yes, it is. I can't wait for the animation announcements from each studio, including Despicable Me 4, Transformers 1, The Wild Robot, Garfield, Inside Out, and more. And then Sav Productions says, I can see that with flowers. I hadn't really thought about how flowers remind you of death, but when she said that, I was like, "Ooh, they can kind of remind you of death." That's not a cute thing, but they can kind of make you go there. All right, so let's reiterate what I've talked about thus far, just so I can make sure that we are all on the same page. Again, today's Bad Boys Day. Celebrate it. Go over to Sony.com and get those 1, 2, 3 Bad Boy DVDs. If you want them now, get them, get them, get them. Check out Asphalt City. It is only in theaters. Check out Housekeeping for Beginners. And no, it is not a film about keeping a house. It is only in theaters right now, which brings me to MonkeyMan. So that is a photograph of me and my good girlfriend, Angelique Jackson, who is the senior entertainment reporter for Variety. She invited me to go to the premiere of MonkeyMan with her, and I gladly obliged because, that's kind of how we roll. But at any rate, MonkeyMan is directed, produced, and written and starring Dev Patel. And it is really quite something to see. And Sabra does. I heard certain colors of flowers have certain meanings. They do actually. I'm a come before I get into MonkeyMan. I'm gonna tell you about that because that's actually something that I know a lot about. So, like the color red, obviously signals when it comes to roses, it signals love. The color yellow signals friendship. The color white, when it comes to a flower, is just it usually is associated with people usually send white flowers to funerals like lilies and things of that sort. But a white rose is kind of like this neutral thing. So if you get white roses from somebody, if you get white roses from a dude or from a girl, they're not saying they love you, but they're not saying they hate you. They kind of in the middle. And then all the other colors, orange is just orange. Purple is just purple, and there's some flowers that are blue, and that don't mean nothing. But I definitively know that white is neutral, yellow is friendship, and red is love. That I definitely know for sure. So let me get into Monkey Man. Monkey Man was released by Universal Pictures. It hit theaters and is only in theaters as of April 5th, which is a couple of days ago. And it's dealing with this young man who puts on this monkey suit and he fights against more popular fighters to earn money. He's kind of it's kind of like got that Roadhouse thing. You know how in Roadhouse, the protagonist in Roadhouse was very mysterious and he took on the role of a bouncer to make money. Well, in Monkey Man, this young man, his name is Kid, played by Dev Patel. He fights people to make a living, kind of like, and like in the fighting is like brutal and it's bloody and it's gory, but it's hella exciting. And then he has that one moment where he has that Mike Tyson, I'm gonna gnaw on your ear moment. That was not lovely, but the fight scenes were really great. I'm looking forward to the sequel. It's like a love letter to the John Wick franchise with Keanu Reeves and the Bruce Lee franchises. I actually heard Dev Patel talk about how much he loved Bruce Lee growing up, and how he saw a lot of Bruce Lee movies. He made his mom buy him some nunchucks and he tore up the kitchen with the nunchucks, but he really loves Bruce Lee. This is what I really, really love about Monkey Man. We first became familiar with Dev Patel in Slumdog Millionaire, where he was kind of corny, kind of goofy, kind of funny. He was singing a little, he was dancing a little. It was a whole Bollywood thing, right? The next time we saw him, he was in Lion. And every film he's done since then has been a little on the serious side. And he's played these really dark and brooding characters. But let me tell you something. Dev Patel is the ish when it comes to that. And this Monkey Man thing was the ish. If you have not gone to a theater to see it, you need to run and go see it, because my boy is doing the daggum thing. Okay, I'm waiting for the sequel. I'm just saying, the only thing I didn't like about Monkey Man is that the women in the franchise, with the exception of the chick that plays Queenie, they're kind of used as window dressing for the film. They're very beautiful women that don't have a lot to say. They don't have a lot to do, with the exception of Queenie and the girl that plays his I don't know if she would be his romantic lead or what you would call her, but there's this woman that he has this connection to, and you don't really quite know why. The other thing that I loved about it is that it was steeped in Indian history. So you're getting this really cool history lesson along with these really great fighting action sequences and just a really entertaining film. People that love blood and gore and all that, they will get their entire life with Monkey Man. I'm just saying. I was like this and like this because I can't take it. So the little bit that I did see, it was fire. It was great. I loved it. So again, y'all, check out Monkey Man, check out Housekeeping for Beginners, check out Becoming King. It is streaming on Paramount Plus right now, and check out Asphalt City, which is only in theaters right now. Now, I'm going to CinemaCon, which Brandon had mentioned earlier in the post that I showed y'all. He was like, Happy CinemaCon week. Now, what is CinemaCon? Let me break down what CinemaCon is for you. CinemaCon is kind of like, it's like, for lack of a better way to say it, it's like Comic-Con for theater distributors that deal with the box office and stuff, and studios. It is Comic-Con for theater distributors, owners, and studios. And it happens in Las Vegas every spring. And it's for about 3 or 4 days. The first day will be tomorrow, April 4th. And the first day is like an international day where they have like a brunch and some seminars and a little award ceremony thing happening. And then they have a big gala opening. So tomorrow after the gala, well, yeah, as part of the gala opening, they will do a pre-screening of The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. And it is directed and written by David Leitch. David or Lech, I forget how you pronounce his name. But anyway, he was a former stunt person. And so this film, The Fall Guy, is a cinematic big screen reboot of a TV series that starred Lee Majors back in the day. But it's also a love letter to the stunt community, directed, produced, and written by David. So they're going to do a screening of that tomorrow. And then on the 9th, which is Tuesday, Warner Brothers and Crunchyroll are going to do a preview of their slate for the upcoming year. On the 10th, which is Wednesday, Angel Studios, Lionsgate, Universal Pictures, and Focus Features will all do some previews and things of their slates. Now, what happens at CinemaCon is usually some stars come out, the producers come out, the directors come out. Sometimes they do some skits, sometimes they don't, but they always have some type of filmed presentation to let you know what the slate is. For somebody like me as a film critic, it gives me a great idea of how to plan out my year and when to know how to look for some of these films, because most of the time I only find out like a couple of weeks ahead of time or a month at the most. So that's what's happening. And then on the 10th, there's also going to be a studio themed dinner party, and they're going to screen, Neon Rated is going to screen Babes, a new film that they have coming out. And of course, the last night, Disney and Paramount Pictures will do previews of their slate. And there is a lunch honoring filmmaker John M. Chu, who we all know and love. So that is what's happening with CinemaCon, and that is going down this week. I will be there, so I will come back to you guys next week on the 13th with some previews about the TCM Classic Film Festival. So TCM is one of my favorite things to go to. It's happening April 18th through the 21st. Billy D. Williams is being honored. They always honor one Black person, one famous Black person. Last year, a few years back, it was Pam Grier. This year is Billy D. Williams, and there will be a one-on-one conversation with Professor Jacqueline Stewart regarding his cinematic career, and it culminates in them screening Lady Sings the Blues right after that. And then Ebert Fest I will be going to, which is curated by Roger Ebert's wife, Chaz Ebert. It's a film festival to honor a lot of the films that Roger gave really great reviews to, and or a film or documentary that the site rogerebert.com gave a great review to. And it gives audiences in that part of the country in the Midwest an opportunity to see films that they normally wouldn't have the opportunity to see. That statue of Roger Ebert is right there in front of the Virginia Theater where the film festival happens. I am going to be there. I will be moderating some conversations on a few films. We haven't decided what those films will be just yet, but I will probably be streaming live from there when I do that. So again, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. You can see all of the films that I wrote about, all the films that I talk about are always at that ticker at the bottom, thecurvyfilmcritic.com. Thecurvyfilmcritic.com is where you can see all of the reviews that I write all the time. They will be there without further ado. All right, so I'm going to put that interview up with Ty Sheridan. I don't know how I missed that. For some reason, I thought I did a comp interview, but I guess I didn't. But I will do another comp interview, and I will put that up on the YouTube channel. So go check it out. I'll check the comments one last time. And Sav, thank you, babe. Have a fun, safe trip. I will. So after I get off this camera, I'm going to go pack. So I can get it together and fix dinner and all of that and make sure that everyone in my household is taken care of before I get on the plane. But thank you for the good wishes. Much appreciated. All right, you guys. So until the next time, love, peace, and hair grease, and deuces. I'll see you when I see you. No, I'll see you next week. Bye.